was involved in a moped accident that caused me to lose my left leg above the knee. I was just finishing my freshman year playing Division I lacrosse. I had a standout rookie season, started every single game, was one of the leading point scorers on the team. So when I lost my leg accident, it was really a kind of what is my life going to become? And I was honestly most afraid of losing me being an athlete. The number one thing that I thought when I looked down and I saw that my leg was gone. Being the first above the knee amputee on Survivor, I mean, I was the first person to do it. And of course I was thinking, I don't know if I'll be able to do it because I've never seen anybody else do it. It's crazy because I had the mindset when I was in the hospital that I was going to return to the lacrosse field, that I wasn't going to let this accident define me. You know, I had a fire lit within me because I was fortunate enough to have a lot of the Boston Marathon survivors reach out and a few of them coming to visit me. So hearing their stories, everything that they've been through, that's when I realized that maybe this isn't the end of my life. And they were actually the ones to tell me that I'd be able to play lacrosse again. I'd be able to live the active lifestyle. But I would definitely say, you know, in the moment, you know, so unsure if I would ever even walk again. We were in a prosthetic office and we were donating a running blade to a 2-year-old little boy. And the only thing he wanted to do was play sports, be a normal kid. And I remember he put his running blade on for the first time and he started running down the hallway like he's had it his entire life. And, you know, seeing his reaction, his family's reaction, it was really just a moment for me that will always stick out. And I was obviously super ecstatic for him. So it was just something that I was so grateful to be a part of and so grateful to witness, because it really just, it motivated me even more, and it made me realize that this is something that I really am passionate about and that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life.
Welcome to the Apex Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Bob GDMD, and here as always with my co-host,
Dennis V. How are you, Bob?
Hey, you know, it's been a little while since we've been in here.
It's been a bit.
But we got some stuff some irons in the fire that we're dealing with.
Yes, we
right?
do.
And,
we do.
Big stuff coming out, but we want to start by talking about last Sunday, second half, Patriots-Bills.
You know, it's funny, a year ago, you and I sat at one of their last games, and they snuck out a fourth win of the season. Never did I think they'd have an 11-game win streak at this time of the year. And we spoke earlier in the day, and I said, hey, a loss sometimes, you'd rather see a loss this time of the year as opposed to the playoffs. So I think it's going to work well for their favor.
Yeah, for sure. And it also helps reset the mindset. You know?
100%.
And, you know, speaking of mindset, we have a fellow New Englander in the studio today. She's a U.S. Paralympian. She holds the U.S. record for the long jump. And I'd like to have the distinct pleasure of welcoming in Noelle Lambert. Welcome to the show.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Noelle, what were you doing on Sunday?
I was actually at my friend's house watching the game. You know, I'm a big Patriots fan and I'm very vocal when I'm watching the Pats. So it was exciting in the first half and then it just went downhill from there. But I totally agree with you. I'd rather lose now than in the playoffs, and I think they definitely needed it, and I think it'll just make them stronger.
Who's your favorite player?
My favorite player, you know, you got to ride with Drake May right now because he's carrying the team, and it's very exciting to have a young quarterback, you know, after having the great Tom Brady. But I also like Diggs, which is crazy because I used to hate Diggs, obviously.
Well, of course you did, right?
Him. Yeah, playing against him because he was always so good. And now, like, he's such a great leader, and I just love his attitude, and I love his energy.
It's kind of cool because it's turned into the who's of who shows up. It's almost like the LA Lakers games. You have Cardi B one week, now you have Travis Scott. It's been a lot of fun. Well, listen.
Yeah, love having Cardi B as a Pats fan.
Absolutely.
Right.
We'll take it. So welcome to the show. Take us to the moment you realized your old life was over. What were you most afraid of losing?
I definitely have to take this back to 2016 when I was involved in a moped accident that caused me to lose my left leg above the knee. I was just finishing my freshman year playing Division I lacrosse at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, and I had a standout rookie season, started every single game, was one of the leading point scorers on the team. So when I lost my leg in this accident, it was really a kind of what is my life going to become? And I was honestly most afraid of, you know, losing me being an athlete. I grew up with three older brothers, always grew up as an athlete, never really went through a long period of time without being active. So that's really the thing that stuck out to me the most. And that was the number one thing that I thought when I looked down and I saw that my leg was gone. It was, am I ever going to play sports again?
That must have been a horrific experience.
Yeah, I mean, shock and the adrenaline were kicking in, so I wasn't feeling any pain. Luckily, I had an incredible man that was driving behind me that took his shirt off to create the tourniquet to stop the bleeding, which is one of the only reasons why I'm sitting in front of you guys today. He was the one that saved my life. So to have that miracle happen, I definitely had God looking out for me that day. But after that, it was just a mindset thing, and
Yeah.
it was really the determination of what is my life going to become now.
Yeah. So thinking back, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, right? And try to experience that the best way I can with my own imagination. Was losing your leg harder or the identity as an athlete harder? Like which of those two things would be, and in that moment, you're sitting there and you're like, what, trying to absorb what happened, right? But
Yeah.
shortly after you get released from the hospital and all that, take us there.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because I had the mindset when I was in the hospital that I was going to return to the lacrosse field, that I wasn't going to let this accident define me. You know, I had a fire lit within me because I was fortunate enough to have a lot of the Boston Marathon survivors reach out and a few of them coming to visit me. So hearing their stories, everything that they've been through, that's when I realized that maybe this isn't the end of my life. And they were actually the ones to tell me that I'd be able to play lacrosse again. I'd be able to live the active lifestyle. So I was 100% going to believe anything that they told me, given everything that they've been through. But I would definitely say, in the moment, so unsure if I would ever even walk again, let alone play sports. I think the identity as an athlete, and having that being juggled in the air, I think that was the scariest part, because obviously, I could have a walking prosthetic, I could get back to my everyday routine, but being an athlete was who I was. I literally went to college to play sports. That was the only thing I was ever passionate about. And that was really what I wanted to do with my life. And so in that moment, that was probably what terrified me the most.
What lie about yourself did you have to kill early on in recovery?
I think the lie about myself that I had to kill, it was definitely that before my accident that I understood what hard work was. I was that type of athlete that if you put me into a game scenario, I would always run through a brick wall for you. I would do whatever my coach said. But then when I went to practice, I kind of just went through the motions, especially after receiving a scholarship. I felt like all the hard work was over, and that's really when the hard work should have began. And my freshman year of college, I mean, luckily, my talent alone was getting me a starting position, but I was thinking back, thinking if I put in that much more work, if I put in that hard work, where would I be? Would I have even lost my leg? Would I be playing at one of the top Division I programs? So that was the lie that I had to kill to myself, and that's really when I had to tell myself, if I ever do want to play lacrosse again or play a sport again, I need to put in twice as much work as everybody else because I have one less leg.
That's great advice to give not only to any athlete, but to anybody in life. You think about, I played basketball and sports growing up, but your coach tells you to run suicides or whatever. And it's, somebody's not always looking. So there are opportunities to cut corners. But
Absolutely.
what does cut corners actually do for you?
I mean, you're cheating yourself, honestly.
Absolutely.
Like you might think that you're getting out of a workout and that you're trying to be slick and that your coach isn't noticing it, but you're really just hurting yourself at that point, especially if this is something that you really want to do and that you really want to pursue. Things aren't just going to be handed to you. You have to, talent isn't enough sometimes. I mean, a lot of the times talent isn't enough. You have to put in that extra work to just solidify yourself as an athlete. And when you look back, when you finally are retired and you are done, you can look back and you can be proud of yourself.
I can already tell, just like hearing how you are, how you like the Patriots and everything, you follow sports. You notice it with certain athletes that they get by on their, pure athleticism, but at some point it starts to catch up. And
Absolutely.
there's going to be a point in it really humbles an individual, but you don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better, honestly, because once you realize that and once you can fix it and once you can work towards making yourself a better athlete. It's just gonna prepare you not only in sports, but it's gonna make you a better person, and it's gonna prepare you for life. It's gonna give you that discipline that you need to achieve your dreams and goals, even if it has nothing to do with sports, just in your everyday work life. I mean, time management and being motivated, having goals, and just never being satisfied, like always looking towards the future and what you can do better for yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting that you just mentioned motivation and discipline. Dennis, you just finished up another round of 75 hard. Your second, right?
7,500, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so
Wow.
so that's all about discipline.
yeah.
Absolutely.
right.
That's incredible.
So-
Congratulations.
It's fun. I remember the first time doing it. My wife and I. It was early January, and that year I think it snowed almost every day. Just whatever, but it's your mindset. I mean,
It
it's
really
very
is.
easy to look and say, "Don't do it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is like we all get motivation, right? We become motivated, but that to me
Mhm.
has always been a flash in the pan, right?
Yeah.
What happens? What tools did you use to make motivation into turn it into discipline?
It's crazy because it always changes, of course, because obviously you have goals and then you achieve those goals and then you're thinking, okay, what do I do next? So I think it just went through stages. When my accident first happened, it was all about return to the lacrosse field and it was whatever I could do to play again. And then once I did play again, it was like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do next? And that's really what opened the doors to becoming a track athlete. And I think what my main motivation is now is I'm doing it for the people that don't believe that they can. And that's really why I was passionate about starting my own nonprofit to give prosthetics to individuals who can't afford running blades or waterproof legs. And so I think that's really what my motivation is I'm always doing it for the person that believes that they can't. Even if, I mean, listen, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect and that I believe I can do anything. I am the number one person to doubt myself when I start anything new. Anything new I've ever tried, I've always doubted myself. And I've always thought, I don't know if I can actually do this. And I think that's honestly the motivation that I need is when I doubt myself. That's why I have to prove to myself that I can do it. And that's usually what happens. But I always say I'm doing it for, the kids who are disabled and not even just kids, the people that go through similar situations as me and they think that their lives are over. And then a big component obviously is my family, especially my mother. My mom is my rock and she's just everything. She's always my everything and why I do everything, which is crazy because she's never the person in my ear saying you have to do this, you have to do that. It's mostly just my parents were always great. They did incredible things for me growing up, but my mom was always my best friend and was always there for me. So that's why I always want to show my support and show her that I can accomplish anything.
You know, how important was that support system as you were going through things?
I would say it's life and death, honestly. Like it's either going to make or break with whatever you want to accomplish in life. And I always say, whenever you're going somewhere, whatever you want to achieve, you always find the support system that you can. Even if you don't have it in your family, you find it in another community, because I personally would not be where I am today without the support and the community that was behind me and helping me get to where I want to and being able to accomplish things. I mean, it started off, of course, with my family being in the hospital, my friends, my teammates, coaches, but then it just continued to grow. When I was starting off in the track and field world, I found a mentor who's a below the knee amputee. Her name's Famida Ayambeku. She's a 3-time Paralympian, and she took me under her wing and introduced me to the sport and showed me what I needed to accomplish. And that's honestly why I felt confident enough to try a whole new sport that I never tried in my life, because I had somebody practicing with every single day and I could see her doing things. And I thought to myself, okay, well, if she can do it, then why can't I? And it just continued to build. And that's really why I am the way I am. I never go through anything on my own, and I can never say that I accomplished something by myself, because it really does take a village.
Yeah, it does. Sounds like you're talking about resilience, building resilience, right?
Absolutely. Always.
And with that resilience, right? Sometimes I can imagine that people might romanticize that, say like, you're just such a hard person. How do you do that? What do people get wrong about that?
I mean, I think what people get wrong is they think that I have this positive attitude 100% and I'm always motivated and I'm always willing to try anything. When in reality, I struggle just like everybody else. When I'm trying to find motivation to complete a workout, when I'm trying to find motivation to go outside in 10-degree weather and do hill sprints, it happens to everybody. And it's just having that discipline, like we talked about, and it's having that mindset of just never feeling satisfied and always doing it for something better or doing it so that you could put yourself in a better situation, in a healthier situation. But I think what people get wrong about it is they think that everything's always, sunshine and roses at the end because I'm just so strong-headed and whatever obstacle comes my way, that my feelings aren't going to be hurt and that I'm not going to doubt myself. And that's just not the case because of course I doubt myself. I'm a human being. Of course, I'm going to wake up one morning and I'm not going to want to work out because it's what I do every single day. And when I have the toughest workout of the week, am I going to drag my feet? Am I going to complain? Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to accomplish it. Listen, sometimes I'll complain for an hour and then I'll get it done and I'll be like, that really wasn't that bad. I don't know why I wasted the time and the energy, but it's just, that's reality. That's everybody on this earth. You know what I mean? And if you can just find a way to kind of overcome it, you can find a way to motivate yourself in that small moment, finding just small goals through every single day, then you will get yourself through it.
Yeah. So when you've run the Boston Marathon, right?
No, my husband actually
Okay.
ran. No,
But I think
the foundation has bibs. And
yeah,
everyone's
that's
trying to
where I
get me
think
to
yeah.
run
Okay.
it. But yeah, maybe when I'm retired as a track athlete.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. But I was going to ask you, like, when you're doing so, let's switch gears a little bit, and you're at the track and you're practicing and doing your speed workouts, let's say for the 100, right? What tools do you use in that moment when you're just like not feeling it?
I just always think about the cues my coaches give me. Um, and just be better than the last rep. Even, if you start off and you're not feeling so hot and you're not feeling so great, just be better than that last rep. And that typically is what gets me through it. And then honestly, like I'm a big person. Like once you get halfway, it's like, all right, you're halfway done. It's not that bad. Just work through it and try to get through the workout. But just always take the cues that your coaches or, your strength coaches or whoever you're working with that they give you. And that usually gets me through it.
Well, just going back a little bit, I think it's really cool that you're showing that you're human because, we're role models as adults. You yourself as an athlete, I've been a teacher for years. You're always in the eye of young individuals looking
Mhm.
at you. But when you say that, yeah, I feel this in these days and I get frustrated, whatever, I think for a young athlete, that goes a long way is they're in their journey and they're having their struggles that, yeah, I'm going to have struggles too. I'm going to have my
Mhm.
doubts, but I have to fight through. So you sharing that, I think that is very helpful for others. And you're not just throwing in the towel. You deal with it and then you keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish I had this all figured out when I was in high school, going through, just going through everything. And I wish I had that realization of, you need to snap out of it and you can't just walk through drills or stuff like that. But because I would always, of course, look up to all these incredible athletes and I would think, the talent that they must have had. And it's really not it. It's really just the hard work that they were willing to put in. And that's when I started realizing is when I started meeting all these other incredible athletes that were Paralympians and everything that they've been through and their stories. And that's really what my motivation was. Like before I even started track and field, I realized, these people had similar situations as me and they lost a limb or they had a tragic accident and they were still able to accomplish and return to playing sports and live the life that they want. And I'm a huge advocate of if you see somebody that's similar to you and you see them accomplishing something, then if they can do it, then why can't I? That's my 100% motto. I just need to see one person do it. And I mean, of course, I've done things that nobody else has done before. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but being the first above the knee amputee on Survivor, I mean, I was the first person to do it. And of course, I was thinking, I don't know if I'll be able to do it because I've never seen anybody else do it. So it's just I'm definitely the huge advocate of, just putting the mindset towards it. And listen, just because you fail, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It just gives you that much more motivation why you need to continue to try and accomplish it.
What does a bad day look like now, and how does it keep it from derailing you?
I mean, a bad day, I can't say that I have bad days because, everybody has bad days, and it's just like the mindset. I would say my worst day is when I'm just really not motivated. And I would say they always come during these winter seasons and when it's really cold outside and when I do have to get my butt up and I have to get outside and I have to do workouts. But I mean, I can't tell you the last time I had, just because I'm struggling with a workout, it doesn't mean I have a bad day. I'm incredibly blessed, and fortunate. So I try not to, dwell on things that I'm kind of stubborn with. And I try to think every single day, I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing with my life, to be a full-time athlete. I mean, my husband, he was a lacrosse player in college and now he works in finance and he's behind a computer every single day. And every single day he always tells me, I wish I got paid to be an athlete. And that's honestly, I need to hear that sometimes because I do sometimes take it for granted. And that kind of puts me back into place and makes me realize, people would kill to do what I'm doing now, and you never know when it's going to end. I know, just having my accident happen to me, you never know what's going to happen. So take every day as a blessing. And even if you have a bad day, if you have a bad attitude, just always try to end the day better off than how you started it.
That's great advice. We just spent, I don't know, 10 minutes or so talking about discipline and systems, right?
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit, talk about cost and sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all that discipline and systems and in going through what you've gone through had a price, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what, if any, did any of your relationships change in that time, becoming the version of you that you are now? Like from back pre-accident till now.
I mean, I
Can you
wouldn't
talk about that?
say it changed any relationships I've had. I would definitely say you really find out who your true friends are. You find out who the community and the people that you want to rely on, who they are. Honestly, I think it didn't change. It made my relationships better because it honestly just made me wake up as a human, made me real like I wasn't as stubborn. It made me open up my shell a little bit. I mean, I was always that type of person to joke around. I'm still that little like girl and that wants to make jokes and make light of everything and kind of make fun of myself. That hasn't changed. It's just I've matured a little bit. But I would definitely say how my relationship changes with my coaches. I mean, especially after losing my leg, I had to put 100% trust in my lacrosse coaches, everybody, and my assistant coach in particular that I had in college. She was honestly the reason why I returned playing again. I mean, of course, my teammates, my head coach, they were incredible support system for me, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. But my assistant coach was really taking it upon herself to practice with me every single day before and after practice, to do footwork drills, to do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And that's really what gave me the discipline to return to the field again and make me feel comfortable. And she really was the one that taught me all about your mental health and how you have to prioritize it. And so after having that relationship with a coach like her, it made me realize that I do have to open up and I can't keep things bottled up inside. I can't just if I'm going through a difficult day, I need to vocalize it to the people that I can trust. And those are always my coaches. So I would definitely say like shifting over to track and field and having the coaches that I do in my corner, you need to have that personal relationship with them. You need to be able to be very close with them because you're spending every single day with them. But I wouldn't say that I've ever had a relationship turn negative because of my accident. If anything, it was the complete opposite, which I'm very fortunate, very grateful for, because a lot of people go through something like this and they're treated very differently just based off of the fact that they have a disability. And I honestly think that's your mindset, and that's how you project yourself to others. I just made it a point very early on that I didn't want to let this accident define the rest of my life and define the person that I wanted to become. I would honestly make fun of myself in front of other people to get them comfortable enough to talk to me and make them realize that I'm still me. It's still me under here. I'm a human being. I'm still the Noelle that you know. And I think that really helped.
What do people misunderstand about running blades in elite adaptive sports?
I think
Well,
people.
well, first of all, like what is a running blade for the people who don't know what that is?
Yeah, so a running blade is a running prosthetic. You will see amputees, and when they're walking, they're on their everyday walking prosthetics, but you cannot run with them. I mean, if you do, it's very minimal. It's not as comfortable. So they luckily created running prosthetics, which is in a shape of a C, and basically it gives you the return that you need. So when you're running, it gives you the energy back. And I think what the number one thing that people misinterpret about running blades is that it's an advantage for us, and that it gives us an advantage in sprinting and it gives us an advantage in jumping. Just because we don't have a leg there, that leg doesn't get tired. Do
I
you know
was
how
going to
many?
ask you about
Yeah.
the advantage of that. It's kind of like I was thinking, these what are the carbon plated shoes, right? Supposedly give you a spring advantage. I was thinking maybe
Yes.
that's just the
Yeah.
same kind of concept with that.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, am I going to sit here and lie and say that it doesn't give us balance? It doesn't give us return? No, I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is me as an athlete, I am missing a knee and a foot, and I have no control of anything lower than the knee. I have no control of what the blade does. And I obviously don't run as fast as somebody with two legs, a sprinter with two legs. And that's a disadvantage, especially in the jumping. Most important part in long jump is the speed that you're willing to bring into the jump. But am I going to sit here and say that the blade doesn't give me spring and give me bounce? No, I'm not going to sit here and say that, but it's not cheating because I'm competing against people with my own disability. I'm not competing alongside, other able-bodied athletes. Now, I will say the below the knee men long jumpers, they are jumping the same, if not farther, than able-bodied Olympians. And there was a couple of people that were trying to get into the Olympics, and they vetoed it because obviously it is sort of an advantage for them because, they do have a knee, and you can pick the category of the blade and the stiffness to see how much return that you get on the blade. That's the only time that I will say it's like it's very complicated. And of course, if they didn't allow it in the Olympics, and that means that they did their research and that it isn't fair. But I mean, listen, we don't have legs. And I'm sure people aren't sitting there saying, man, I wish I didn't have a leg so I could be a Paralympian. You know what I mean? Like, people are still going to take their lives as two-leggers or all limbs any day. But that it kind of takes away from the fact how great these athletes are and what they are doing and the level that they are doing it, because having Paralympians compete at a level that is the same, if not better than Olympians, is an incredible accomplishment. And it is so difficult to do that because they do not feel their foot. They do not feel anything below their knee. And to be able to control that, the balance, I mean, if you want to question it, I mean, just imagine running full speed as fast as you can to a long jump pit and jumping off of something that isn't yours and feeling comfortable enough to land in the sand. Because if you do it wrong, you can get injured. But yeah, that's all I have to say to that. I mean, you don't have. I get called a cheater all the time when I post videos of me long jumping. It's hilarious because it's just people don't do their research.
They don't. They just don't know.
No, it's just something I honestly wouldn't think of. But how does it take a while to get used to that balance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it took me probably a year to be comfortable with my running blade, and to be running off of it, to be fully comfortable with it. I mean, I'm at a point now when I am running, like I'm running very smoothly, and very equal. So it doesn't necessarily look as though I am an amputee, but the balance part of it, aspect of it is insane. And it's just, you really have to be comfortable. And don't get me wrong. Does that mean I don't trip? I don't fall? No, I trip and fall every single week at practice. I mean, literally,
I trip and fall every day.
Exactly. So I mean, it's just kind of getting used to it, especially if you make adjustments to your blade, in the alignment. I mean, it's You just have to get comfortable with it. But it's very challenging, very difficult, but you just have to get used to it, and you have to be comfortable. You have to be comfortable falling, and you can't be scared of it.
And it must be just changing from activity to activity. Can be, I
Yeah.
mean, like lacrosse is different from
Oh
sprinting, and
yeah.
jumping's different, and basketball or whatever. So it must just be different.
Yeah, I mean, just because you have different prosthetic legs for those two, say if it was lacrosse and track and field, I would not use the same leg that I use for track and field than I would use for playing lacrosse, because for track and field, I mean, the alignment, I'm sprinting on the very edge of my toe on the blade because that's just the position that I'm running on. But when I'm playing lacrosse, I need it to be, I don't know if is it dorsiflexed? I need it to be more on the foot when I'm planting back and forth and I'm cutting back and forth, and I need to have that comfortability of it. And so obviously it's difficult. And then when you change back and forth from your everyday leg to your running blade, it's one's heavier than the other. So it just takes practice. It is really what it is.
Yeah. So how much of that is performance? How much of your performance is mindset versus the engineering of the prosthetic?
I would definitely say 50-50. You know, the engineering of the prosthetic, and this is something that I've learned very recently in the last 2 years. And I've been competing for 5 years in the track and field world. In the first 3 years, I was just a rookie and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with alignment, blades, stiffnesses. And when I took the time, I actually went out to Italy because actually a lot of my competitors who kick my ass in the 100, they're all from Italy. So I just decided to reach out and see if I could work with their prosthetists. And they were very nice and allowed me to go out there. And that's when I realized the importance of your alignment on your prosthetic leg. And what I compare it to is like an F1 car, and like how everything has to be on point and
Yeah.
everything has to feel right for you to get the
The
best
return.
performance
Yeah.
out of the blade in the return. So, I mean, we can talk about the Paris Paralympics. I mean, I
Oh yeah.
changed
We're gonna.
everything. Yeah, we can get into detail. I'll just say something short, but I changed a lot the 2 weeks leading up to Paris, to the point where I was jumping off of a completely different blade. And that was just a rookie mistake on my part. But then the other 50%, the mental, that's also, I mean, it's crazy because some days it's like some days it'll be like 70-30, with mental being the most important, because if you're mentally not there, especially in an individual sport, um, then your whole performance is off and you're not going to compete well. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in the cues that led you to where you are, then everything's not going to work in your favor. And I've also had to deal with that and had to realize different things that I needed to do a lot better if I wanted to be able to medal, if I wanted to be able to perform at the highest level.
Yeah. Speaking of meddling, right? I'm not talking about meddling like getting involved in something. I'm
Yeah.
talking about meddling at the competition. So 2021,
Yes.
you went to the Tokyo Paralympics. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I started competing in track and field at the end of 2019. I qualified for my first World Championships, started learning all about track and field, and then qualified for my first Paralympic Games. You know, leading into Tokyo, I was a rookie, and because of COVID, I had only competed about 5 or 6 times. So heading into the Tokyo Paralympic Games, it was kind of like, I'm just excited that I have a Team USA uniform, that I get to call myself a Paralympian. I'm competing alongside the best in the world. I don't really have expectations. I'm just going to go out there, try to do the best that I can. Ended up placing sixth in the world and breaking the American record, which is something I was so grateful for. But being a competitor, there was something in the back of my head thinking, you know, I want to medal. Like I'm a competitor. This is in my blood. I want to win. So I told myself leading up to Paris, like, you need to make changes, and once Paris does come around, I want you to be a different breed of an athlete, and
Yeah.
to be ready to go.
But I mean, seriously, you said you had 5 competitions before you were a Paralympian, and then you're at the biggest show on earth, right?
Yeah.
In your field, and you play 6th. I mean, you showed them that you belonged there. How did that make you feel?
Absolutely. I mean, I was ecstatic. I mean, obviously, because, you know, not only am I competing alongside the best in the world, but I'm repping the United States. I have that flag on my chest. and I'm representing the whole community that's behind me, and all the hard work it took to get there. I was extremely grateful, and it was definitely one of the best experiences of my life. But it was also a very weird one because we had absolutely zero fans. My family members couldn't go because of COVID. So that was just something that was a little bit challenging, kind of realizing that. But then once you get in the stadium, it's just your adrenaline's kicking in, and
Yeah.
you don't even realize that the stadium is empty. You're just like,
Right.
holy crap, I'm literally on the biggest stage that I'll ever be on in my entire career.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can't help but be grateful and just want to perform at your best.
I'm wondering, something else happened between, Tokyo and Paris. You started a foundation. So was this kind of like the springboard, so to speak? I don't want to get too far because we're going to talk about the foundation later in the show, but
Yeah.
was this a springboard to like a whole new career for you, really?
Yeah, I actually started the foundation my senior year of college in 2018. So, but
Cool.
but I would definitely say just going through everything I went through and having 3 different specialized prosthetics donated to me, that's really what my motivation was. And especially when I returned on the lacrosse field and played Division I lacrosse as the first above the knee amputee to ever be able to accomplish that. That's really when I started to realize I need to give back all the support and helping hands that I received, and portray the message out to the world that if I can lose my leg, I can have this accident and still play sports, still live the life that I want, then 100% so can anybody else. So that really was my mindset going into it. But I would say in between Tokyo and Paris, that's really when the foundation started to grow a lot more. Getting that exposure, we were able to start helping a lot more people, getting more donations, which is incredible. And that was just really my number one goal, was to help as many amputees as possible.
What's one story from your foundation that still hits you emotionally?
I definitely have to say the story that hits me emotionally was our very first donation. We were in a prosthetic office and we were donating a running blade to a 2-year-old little boy. And the only thing he wanted to do was play sports, be a normal kid. And I remember he put his running blade on for the first time and he started running down the hallway like he's had it his entire life. And, seeing his reaction, his family's reaction, it was really just a moment for me that will always stick out. And I was obviously super ecstatic for him, but I was very jealous because it took me 2 weeks to run without being on a harness, without being harnessed on a treadmill. And then I look at this kid and he's running down the hall like he's had it his whole life. So it was just something that I was so grateful to be a part of and so grateful to witness, because it really it motivated me even more, and it made me realize that this is something that I really am passionate about, and that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to be able to give back and help any amputee going through a difficult time. But that was the first and best story that I think I could have ever been a part of.
That's amazing. The name of the foundation is Born to Run, right?
Yep. Yeah.
In the show notes at the bottom, we'll give all the links if you want to help support that mission. I'm sure that
Great. Yeah.
Noelle would love that, and all the people that you help will love that. And
Absolutely.
I love that. I think it's fantastic. I want to go backwards a little bit, talk about Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened in Paris? You showed up as a different athlete. You changed some equipment out, and take it from there.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of 2024, I decided to move out to California and start training with a new coach. And I decided to add a new event to my plate. Along with the 100, I wanted to compete in the women's long jump. And for me to be successful in the women's long jump, I needed to be able to jump over 5 meters. And to put that into perspective for you, before I started, only 3 above the knee amputee women in the entire world had ever jumped over 5 meters. And
Wow.
I needed to do this in my first season to qualify for Paris. And I knew the only way that was going to be able to happen was if I started working with one of Team USA's head coaches, Chris Mack, and I moved out to the Chula Vista Elite Training Center. And I had 9 months. Basically, it was probably 7.5 to 8 months to learn how to long jump. And each month went by, and I was getting better and better. First competition rolls around, I was able to break the American record in the women's long jump, but I wasn't satisfied.
Amazing.
I wasn't satisfied because I knew that mark wouldn't qualify me for the team. Fast forward 4 or 5 months later, I was able to jump my first time over 5.06 meters. And that's when I truly started to believe that, this could be something great for me, that I could start to make waves. I could start to really do great in this sport. And heading into Paralympic trials, I jumped 5.20 meters. I punched my ticket to Paris. I'm leading up to the games. I'm ranked second in the world, and I'm in medal contention. And in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, I want that gold medal, but I also want to break this world record, because I think my best jump that season was 5.29 meters and the world record was 5.46 meters. And so I'm centimeters off that world record. And we get to Paris, and it's 2 weeks before my competition, and my coach and I are trying to do everything possible to give me that extra oomph so that I can break that world record. But we just ended up going backwards. We were changing everything, and to the point where I didn't even recognize the blade that I was jumping off of. And that's when the mental aspect comes into play. If I'm kind of panicking at practice, we're trying to put things back. And then I show up in my competition and I placed fourth in the world, and I was centimeters off the podium. And that's really when it hit me that I realized that sucked. And that was like my first and ever true failure in my entire life. And that's when I looked at myself as a failure that night. And I mean, compared to what I was jumping all season to that competition, it was a terrible jump. I mean, if I jumped what I was jumping that season, easily I would have earned myself a But, waking up the next morning and realizing that the sun was still shining, that I was healthy, I wasn't injured, and I competed in the Paralympics. I placed fourth in the world, and I did this in 9 short months. And I told myself,
amazing.
What's going to happen when I have 4 extra years to train at a sport that I wasn't comfortable with? So of course, I was using that as fuel and motivation to bring that into LA 2028. And that's when I keep telling myself, and that's when I'm going to bring home that gold medal. That's on my home soil. That's when I'm going to make it happen. I made the rookie mistake with my coach of touching things when I shouldn't have. Do you know how many amputees, how many prosthetists I've talked to saying that was a rookie move, should never have done it. And you know what? It's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me better. That's how I look at it. Of course, it sucks that I didn't get that medal, but I was going to use that to drive me and motivate me. And then fast forward a year later, this past season, we have World Championships in India in September. Yeah, in September. And I won my first global medal. I won bronze in the women's long jump. And that's just the pressure. The pressure was off at that point. That's when I realized, okay, I can do this. I got my first medal under my belt, and I'm going to use that and drive me. Because I didn't even have the best season. I didn't even have as good of a season as I did last year, because of course I'm trying to get back to that same alignment still, because that's how difficult it can be. But I was still able to medal, and I was still able to prove that I am one of the best. And I'm just going to use that to work towards LA.
That absolutely tremendous. And I was thinking back when you were talking 9 months. You're talking 9 months. You're not just learning a skill. You're going to compete against the best people in the world.
Yeah.
In 9 months. That's tremendous, and something that doesn't even have to be said, but no's not in your vocabulary.
Yeah.
But that says a lot about you. Well, going away from the no, why did you say yes to Survivor after everything you've already been through?
I said yes to Survivor because it was my opportunity to show the world what amputees are capable of. But listen, I was still scared to death, and I was questioning, who I was and why. Am I really going to put myself through this? But, if I told myself, if I don't do this, then who's going to? And who's going to show that positive representation for the amputee community?
Yeah, unbelievable. And, we did a little Easter egg early, right? You ended up with an advantage early, and you had to steal a vote. Why'd you, this was Survivor 43, right?
Yes. This was,
so go watch that. There was, I just watched it this afternoon, a recap of all of Noelle's scenes. Yeah. So that was really, really cool. Talk about that advantage a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean,
and how you played it was brilliant.
Yeah, at that point in the game, I played it in a way that I don't think anybody had ever done it, or if they did try to do it, it didn't work out in their favor. But yeah, I received that advantage because I went on a journey with a couple other people, which was the funniest part, because the two people I went on the journey with that gave me that advantage, they played a part in when I actually used that advantage. So obviously, as the game gets further along, everybody knew that I had an advantage. Everyone knew that I had to steal a vote because, in the new era of Survivor, there's no secrets. Once I got my advantage, I had those two other people that I went along that journey with. They were going back to their tribes, telling them what I had. And so I knew that I needed to find a way to use it, but to use it in a way that, the person that I actually wanted to get out didn't think or question me with. And because I believe it was James that I voted off, but I believe the advantage that he had in his pocket at the time was knowledge is power. So basically what that means is he could at any point during tribal ask anybody if they have an advantage or if they have an idol. And if they had that advantage on them, they had to say yes. But if you gave that advantage to somebody else and you got asked, say, if I got asked if I had an advantage, I could say no, because honestly, I didn't have that advantage on me. I gave it to somebody else because I knew that he had that advantage. So that was the tricky part. That was the tricky part of it. But yeah, basically I told this one guy, Owen, I'm like, listen, I'm going to act like I'm voting you off. I'm going to steal your vote, but I'm going to throw the extra 2 votes onto James and he'll go home. And then luckily it worked out beautifully. But it put I put a target on my back. I was making moves too early in the game. And my number one blindsided me, which is, that's the game of Survivor. That works. I never thought that I was going to get to final 3 just because of, me having a prosthetic leg. Nobody was going to bring me to the end. I would have had to win every single freaking immunity challenge because obviously I am a threat just based off my story, based off the fact that I am an amputee and I'm doing arguably one of the hardest reality television shows there is. So I was going out there just wanting to make the jury and just not get voted off first. And I accomplished both of those things. So I was very grateful for that. But yeah, and you know what? Every single physical challenge, I found a way to overcome it. I found a way to do it. I would take my prosthetic leg off for a couple challenges to try to accomplish it.
Digging through the mud,
Yeah, digging through the mud. Yeah, Jeff loves the mud on Survivor, especially when there's no showers. But
Right.
I will say this about the show, it's completely real. Everything is real. You get no food, no shelter, no bed, no toilet, and you are completely cut off from the outside world. I could not speak to any of my loved ones for like a month and a half. So it really challenges you. And that was another reason why I wanted to do the show, because obviously I have an incredible support system here. If I'm going through a difficult time, I have people I can call. But going out there, I thought to myself, this is the true test if I can get through something this difficult on my own. But, a funny thing happened. I found a community within the players that I was playing with. And, I loved everybody I played with. I mean, Survivor, people think that it's so cutthroat and everyone hates each other. But I was going out there for the experience and getting to meet very interesting and incredible human beings that I probably never would have met in my entire life. So,
what did Survivor expose about you that sport never had?
I would say to the public, I mean, I'm just a very competitive human being and you could see it, but I would say it's something that I didn't realize until watching that show is my facial expressions are very loud. And
I think we all have that a little bit too.
Yeah, I needed to tone that down a little bit. That's just something that I was mortified watching that every week. But I mean, obviously, you would think that voting people off on Survivor is so easy. You know what I mean? Because you're playing for $1 million. Like you would do anything for $1 million. But the toughest part is you are spending every single second of the day with all of these people, and then you're expected to vote them off. And you're getting to know people on a personal level. I mean, they say 2 days in this environment is honestly like 2 months, 2 to 5 months. Like that's really how it is, because all you can do is talk to one another. All you can do is get to know one another. So it makes it so difficult. I mean, I remember in the beginning of the game, I loved everybody on my tribe and I did not want to vote anybody off. And it made it that much more difficult. Obviously, when you're getting to the end, you don't care because, you're getting
Yeah.
that much closer to the $1 million. But I mean, it's really tough. And I mean, maybe it just means that everyone's becoming a lot more soft playing the game of Survivor, which that is an argument nowadays, that survivors become soft and all they care about is the feelings aspects of the game. And it's not as cutthroat as it was back in the day. But I mean, it's just showing that people are human beings, and that it really is tough. You're not a robot. Like you have to take the emotion out of the game. That's why the best people that win the game, that's why they win, because they can do that. They can take the
Yeah.
emotion out of it, and that's why they're the best of the best.
Well, speaking of soft, right? And wanting to get a little bit harder, right? I think you just released something basically on your Instagram that I saw. You're going to be in the Beast Games too. And you're going back to Survivor. Like, what can you talk about on that? But I'm excited. I saw the first season. I'm excited to see the next.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the only reason why I signed up for the show is because the person that actually voted me off Survivor, Jesse, his son, I believe he's 13 now, but when his son was 12, he did all the Mr. Beast videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
His son won $500,000, his 12-year-old son.
Cool.
And so they were I saw Beast Games season 1, I watched it, and then Jesse actually reached out to me and he was like, hey, they're casting for season 2. He was like, you should apply. I'm going to apply. And I'm like, all right, well, are they going to offer bribes in the first episode like they did in the first season? Because like, I have a wedding coming up. Would love to just accept $100,000 bribe in the first episode. Easy money. And then it was funny because another one of our castmates on season 43, his name's Sammy, he was also applying. So I knew going in there that there were going to be a few of us. Obviously, we talk. It's inevitable. Like, we're very close. But when I got there, I started seeing a few other Survivor contestants. And I'm like, this is very weird. Like, why are there so many reality television people, especially Survivor? And then I found out, we kind of knew the theme of the show when we were applying. It was going to be strong versus smart because you had to pick which team you wanted to apply for. And I'm applying or to be on the strong team. And then when we get there, I'm looking around and I'm seeing all these bodybuilders, MMA fighters, pro wrestlers, these huge human beings. And I'm sitting there with my running blade over my shoulder and I'm like, sup? I'm on the strong team too. And so that was just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But what I will say is it's going to be a great season. Going to be very fun. Another very fun experience. I just keep putting myself in these situations where I'm scared to death. But hey, just always say yes to everything. That's what I've realized with life. Because it was so much fun. Yeah, it's crazy that they're bringing Survivor into it and that they're bringing Jeff Probst into it. From what you see in the trailer, Jeff Probst makes an appearance. So it makes sense why they had all these Survivor castmates.
Yeah, so I can imagine there's going to be a challenge on the island or something coming up. So that'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. This has been pretty awesome. Like, there's just a couple questions. Dennis hasn't asked his signature question yet, but
my favorite,
right? But I just want you to touch real quickly on, why was building Born to Run so important to you?
Building the Born to Run Foundation, it was so important to me because I definitely wanted to take everything that I've experienced with my life and put it into something that I can portray out to the world, that just because I'm doing this, that means anybody can. Anybody going through a difficult time, anybody who has a disability, don't let that limit you. Don't use that as an excuse as to quit or think that you're incapable of doing it. So that's really what the messaging behind the foundation is. And I just really wanted to create a community within this foundation so that people can feel comfortable to ask the difficult questions, to ask how to accomplish certain things. If you want to become a Paralympian, if you just want to go for a run, if you want to do anything with your life, that's really what this foundation was all about. And because I do have an incredible family, I have an incredible mother who runs a lot of it. I'm able to accomplish something like this. And it's incredible because we get bibs every single year for the Boston Marathon. And actually this, in 2026, the upcoming Boston Marathon, we actually have a runner and we recently just donated a running blade to her, and she just lost her leg within the last year. She was involved, she was driving her kid to school, and she was hit by, I believe, a drunk driver, which caused her to lose her left leg, or one of her legs below the knee. And I mean, if you were to ask me to run a marathon in the first year that I lost my leg, I would have laughed in your face. But to see this woman want to accomplish something like this, I mean, that's amazing, and it's so motivating, and it's incredible for other people to see, because I 100% know she's going to kill it. And to have her be representing our foundation, to just show others what we're capable of, is really what it's all about. And I'm just so excited for her, and just continuing to grow the foundation. That's the biggest and most important goal that I have.
That's awesome. And I have one follow-up to that real quick.
Yeah.
If someone just lost a leg, right, and they're out there listening to this podcast, what's their first move? What's your advice to them?
My advice is never be afraid to reach out to your community. Don't be afraid to use social media. I mean, social media can be viewed as a lot of negative things. And a lot of times people say stay away from social media because it'll swallow you up. But this is the one thing that social media can actually help you with, is you can find and reach out to your community. You can find people with the same disability as you, reach out to them, find foundations around you. I mean, you don't have to just apply to there's tons of foundations out there that support amputees. But don't get me wrong, I would love to help. Born to Run Foundation would love to help anybody and everybody. But don't think of this as a life-ending tragedy. Honestly, think of it as something that happens to you, and use it as a blessing, because you're still alive and you're still able to accomplish the things that you want to in life. I promise you, I'm doing things now with my life that I never could have even imagined. And I am a 10 times better human, a better athlete. And I am so grateful for my accident. That's why I view it as such a positive, because it changed my whole outlook on life, and it just made me into the person that I am. And, obviously in those first couple months, it sucks because you don't have a walking prosthetic, you don't have a running blade, and it's a lot of unanswered questions. But just continue to grind, and to put into your head to never let this accident or never let this tragedy define the rest of your life.
That is amazing. Great advice. Thank you so much. I know Dennis has a burning question. It's his favorite.
It's my favorite. It's original. What advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give to my younger self? Never go through the motions. Treat every day, every practice, every drill like it's your last, and always have fun. Always find the fun in everything that you do, because if you're not having fun, it's not worth it.
That's tremendous. You know what? And you can see the young Noelles out there right now, and they hear this and they're like, you know what? Maybe she's right.
Yeah. Right.
It's like you say to yourself that, I've been an educator for years, and like, when somebody's not looking, you should still be putting in maximum effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's when the real work starts, is when you're by yourself, when nobody's paying attention. That's when you find out the true athlete and the true competitor that you are.
Yeah, without a doubt. Dennis, this has been an awesome one, man.
Next level. Absolutely next level.
Yeah. So Noelle, can you give a litany of how people can support you, follow you, all of that stuff?
Absolutely. You can follow me on any social media platform at Noelle Lambert. And if you want to follow along the foundation, it's at the Born to Run Foundation on all social platforms. And if you want to read up on any of our beneficiaries, or read up on the marathon, or find information on how to apply for Boston Marathon in 2027, hopefully we have bibs, you can go to theborntorunfoundation.org, and you can find all that information there.
Excellent. Dennis.
Noelle, I've dedicated my life to special education. I've been a special educator in public schools, and also in disability services at Anna Maria College. And, I learned a lot from you today, and learned so much valuable advice to give to my students. And you are just a bright, shining light that is a source of inspiration for anyone not to ever give up. I'm sure that there were those seconds or those doubts in your mind, and you're just living proof of you just got to keep fighting forward, and the next day is going to be better than the last. So I'm very proud of you, honored to have you on the show, and we're going to follow your story. Keep doing it.
Thank you so
amazing.
much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And you know what, Dennis?
It's go time.